Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my channel, Dr. Markin Sekes Talk on Foreign Affairs. We all have been witnessing the bloody war in between Israel and the Hamas. And the war has crossed now more than a month. There is no end in sight, despite various efforts taken by various leaders across the world, and starting from the United Nations Secretary General to the Security Council. The war is not going to see a very close end immediately. However, keeping in mind the disastrous impact of the war, Arab leaders had a conference last week, this last Saturday at Riyadh. So this conference that is called Riyadh Summit on Gaza has become a turning point, and it's a grim reminder to the US and Israel to stop the war immediately. Let's see what this has been discussed in this particular conference and what are the immediate results that we can expect from this particular conference. First of all, we need to know who are the people who attended the conference. If I see the dozen of leaders, including Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan, Qatar's Amir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, and Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. These are the prime leaders who attended the conference, among others. Now let's see what are the top highlights of the conference. First of all, we had seen in the conference Saudi Arabia, right, and who organized the conference, and its de facto leader, or the Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who is the architect behind organizing this conference, and other Muslim countries called on November 11, 2023, an immediate end to military operations in Gaza. And they all rejected Israel's justification of its actions against Palestinians as self-defense. How long you will be citing that it is our self-defense, that is how we have a right to, carry on this operation for how long, no one knows, in Gaza, right? And second thing, what has come out of the conference is very clear. The extraordinary joint Islamic-Arab Summit in Riyadh urged the International Criminal Court, that is ICC, to investigate war crimes and crimes against humanity that Israel is committing in the Palestinian territories. That is what they all have highlighted in their final note. That's very important, because now these Arab leaders and Islamic leaders, they wanted to bring in the International Court of Justice and its International Criminal Court to the picture, and urging them to investigate the kind of crimes committed by Israel in Palestinian territories from 7 October. Third, Saudi Arabia has tried to press the United States and Israel for an end to the hostilities in Gaza. And Crown Prince, as I said, de facto leader of Saudi Arabia now, that is Mohammed bin Salman, gathered Arab and Muslim leaders to reinforce these messages further. Because Saudi Arabia, being a very close friend of America, has not been able to persuade America so far. So MBS, shortly called Mohammed bin Salman, he's trying to bring in other Arab leaders and Islamic leaders to pressurize America and Israel to put the war to an end. Number 4, what we have seen, Prince Mohammed affirmed the kingdom's condemnation and categorical rejection of this barbaric war against what is said our brothers in Palestine. From the very beginning, he has been condemning the violent actions taken by Israel against innocent civilians in Palestinian territories. He said, we are facing a humanitarian catastrophe that proves the failure of the Security Council and the international community to put an end to the flagrant Israeli violations of international laws. That is how he addressed. And this is a very significant point for all of us because he has brought the failure of the Security Council. He has highlighted that Security Council is, becoming helpless on the face of such a bloody war. It has not been able to do anything, right? And number five, what we have seen is that Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said Palestinians were facing a genocidal war and urged the United States to end Israeli aggression. These are very careful words used by Mahmoud Abbas because it is a kind of genocide. From the beginning, he has been highlighting this is the kind of could be second Nakba, as I had told in my lectures before also to all of you. First Nakba took place when Israel state was created in May 1948. I had also told you briefly about what is Nakba. Nakba is an Islamic word, or an Arabic word, they refer to a kind of a catastrophe. A kind of catastrophe that means killing and displacement of Palestinians or Arabs that was created while establishing the Israeli state in 1948. That is how Muhammad Abbas, he has been telling from the very beginning, Palestinians should not vacate, North Gaza, because this could be a kind of a, second Nakba for Palestinians or Arabs. Now, another one highlighting point here is a very crucial point here. What we have seen, Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi openly hailed the Palestinian Islamist militant group Hamas for fighting against Israel. He has given full credit to the Hamas and saying that they have done the best. And he urged Islamic countries to impose oil and goods sanctions on Israel immediately. He says, I quote him, there is no other way but to resist Israel. We kiss the hands of Hamas for its resistance against Israel. This is what is his speech I have quoted here. And in the meanwhile, right, Turkish President Erdogan called for an international peace conference to find a permanent solution to the conflict between Israel and Palestinians. He said, what we need in Gaza is not pauses for a couple of hours. Rather, we need a permanent ceasefire, as he highlighted from the very beginning. He has been talking about an international conference where we could discuss, and finally put a solution to this, crisis that has been going on for decades now. Another point what we have seen has been raised by Qatar's Amir. He said his country, where several Hamas leaders are based, was seeking to mediate the release of Israeli hostages and hoped humanitarian truce would be reached soon. Because his country is very crucial in this point because they are linked to the Hamas militants, and he said these leaders, Hamas leaders particularly, right, they have been based in Qatar, so his government and his country is trying to find a solution so that all the Israeli hostages could be released very soon, right? And he says, for how long will the international community treat Israel as if it is above international law? He asked the question, is Israel above international law? Why is it happening? In the meantime, President Joko Widodo of Indonesia, the country with the world's largest Muslim population, said Indonesia's hospital in North Gaza continues to be the target of Israeli attacks and has run out of fuel. He said a way must be found to make Israel cease fire immediately, before adding the OIC must use all fronts to hold Israel accountable for the humanitarian atrocities it has committed. So even Indonesian president is voicing his concerns because it is fast becoming a huge humanitarian crisis. It is going beyond proportions, unmanageable. Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan told reporters on the sidelines of the conference that there could be no talks about the future of Gaza except talks about an immediate ceasefire. So, immediate ceasefire is the highlight of this conference immediately. Right. Next, what do we see? The summit also demanded an end to the siege of Gaza, access for humanitarian aid, and a halt to the sale of arms to Israel. At this moment, arms and ammunition should not be, sold to Israel. As I told in my earlier videos also, Israel is a very, very powerful country. It does not need aid or arms. But still, Western countries are supplying continuously arms, ammunition, and providing aid to Israel. But instead, we need aid in Gaza and for its civilians. The kingdom had been scheduled to host two extraordinary summits, Saudi Arabia, of the Organization of Islamic Conference and the Arab League. But keeping in mind the hostilities in Gaza, right, they had immediately organized this Riyadh summit. So they avoided having two conferences, but bring it to one and highlight the issue of violence in Gaza. Hamas, in the meanwhile, it's very interesting, had urged the summit, this Riyadh summit, to take a historic and decisive decision and move to stop the Zionist aggression immediately. So Hamas leaders are in turn, addressing this conference and urging these leaders, Islamic and Arab leaders, that take an immediate decision and a historic decision to stop the Zionist aggression against them. Some Arab leaders or countries led by Algeria called for a complete cut in diplomatic ties with Israel because it is very important at this moment to sideline Israel, according to them. Other Arab countries that have established diplomatic relations with Israel pushed back, stressing the need to keep channels open with Netanyahu's government, they say. But many other countries, Islamic countries or Arab countries, they do not agree with what Algeria and some other countries said. They said it is very important to open the diplomatic channels with Israel and Netanyahu's government. Now, what Israel says at this moment? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu urged Arab leaders to stand up against Hamas. He said, you all should stand up against Hamas. Hamas are not, the representative of Palestinians, right? They are a militant group. He said, Hamas only brought two things to the Gaza Strip, poverty and blood. Hamas is an integral part of the terror axis that Iran leads, and that axis of terror and hatred endangers the whole world and the whole Arab world. That is what he directly accused Iran for supporting and sponsoring the Hamas. To him, Hamas has not been giving anything to the Palestinians except poverty and blood. Right. So Netanyahu is very categorical and he's very clear and straightforward. He said Hamas is bringing only terror to the whole Arab world. Why to Gazas? Or why to Palestinians? Let's see the current status of the war. What is happening? Even this morning, what I have seen is that Palestine's, Gaza Strips, the biggest hospital is running out of water, electricity. Children are dying in incubators. In fact, critical children are dying. Old people are dying. And many people are fleeing, in fact, the hospital because there is no electricity, no care, no supply of medicines. Now, the Middle East has been on the edge since Hamas fighters attacked South Israel on October 7, killing more than 1,400 people. Since then, Israel has escalated its assault on Gaza, where now more than 11,000 people have been killed. Right. And interestingly, right? As Palestinian officials says, more than 40% of these deaths consist of children only. Fighting intensified overnight in these days. Gaza City's overcrowded hospitals are all being vacated now because of, as I said, lack of electricity, short supply of medicines, and it's all been a kind of a war zone. People are not feeling safe out there, right? That is what we have seen. This war has upended traditional Middle East alliances as Riyadh has engaged more closely with Iran. We can see these are arch rivals once used to be, but now they're coming together, right? That is what is the change in the Middle East or in West Asia. That is what we have seen. And they are against American pressure to condemn Hamas. All these nations are putting on hold its plans to normalize ties with the Zionist state, that is Israel. In fact, Ibrahim Raisi's trip to Saudi Arabia is the first by an Iranian head of state in more than a decade. It's a historic trip, in fact. International community and strategic experts say these are all changing equations in geopolitical game in Middle East. Tehran and Riyadh formally ended years of hostility under a Chinese brokered deal in March this year. So what we have seen is that geopolitical calculations across is changing very fast, right? Particularly in the Middle East. This war between the Hamas and the Israeli state has put many of their rivals together. They all want to stand together. But my only question is that how long they will be coming up together like this? Is it they're going to get tied up forever and stand against Israel, maybe probably against America? Let's wait and watch. It is a troubled time for the Middle East. It is a kind of do or die situation for the Palestinians. Let's wait and watch and pray for an immediate end to this war so that innocent civilians' lives are not being lost anymore. Thank you so much for watching me. Kindly watch my other two channels, Dr. Makhan Saikia's talk on national affairs and political science by Dr. Makhan. Bye-bye and take care.